Good morning. This is literally just around the corner, and we thought we'd serve you up a festive recipe in the shape of building your own Lightning component. So a very simple example that covers a lot of different things that's going to help you start on your Lightning component journey. So what are we going to do? So we're going to enhance the file upload component. So in 1 second, I'm going to demo the current way that the file upload component works. So we can have a look at some of the limitations of that. We're then going to clone a Git repo that has everything that we need. We're going to spin up a new Scratch org, push our source in, and then we're going to start creating stuff with a simple Apex controller, Lightning component, and then we're going to compose that all together inside of Flow, and then test and demo our solution. That's it. All right, so let's have a look at the current. So I'm going to jump into my pre-release org. So it's a normal developer org running Spring 19. So here we have a custom object called application. So it's an application for a loan. No guesses there. Over here, this is a flow. It has a couple of fields. All right, so I'm just going to put in some address, 30 Wellington Road. It's not my address, but it's near it. And then postcode. Now, okay, so I need to upload something to prove my address. So I'm going to hit upload files, and I'm going to hit the sample one. That's going to pop up this modal window that says I've successfully done that. Now, here's the problem. So when I hit done, okay, now, yes, if I was paying attention, I would see that it has been uploaded, but there's no way of seeing here that it's been uploaded. That's the first thing. So imagine if I was going onto another step to upload something else, or I needed to change the file or any of that stuff, it would be very difficult for me to do that. So if I hit next, okay, what will happen is the screen does refresh and the file is there. Okay, but like I said, if I went on to another step in the process, or I wanted to delete that file, I'm kind of out of the flow loop. All right, so let's look at how we're going to build that. So let's take a Git repo here. I'm just going to cut and paste this. I'm going to jump down to the command line, and I'm going to do a Git clone. Bring that down. All right, so that's very quick because it's not very big. So now, those of you that know and have seen some of our other videos really like code, VS Code. So I'm just going to hit code and then the name of the folder that's just created. So if I do that, VS Code will nicely pop open the IDE with the folder and everything that I need inside VS Chrome. So inside the Git repo is a README. There's a create Scratch org instruction. So I'm just going to run my first instruction. Now to save me going back out into the command line, I'm just going to open up the terminal. Okay, so I'm going to do Control tilde, and that will just open it up. You know, I could have just hit this down here and it pops up the terminal. All right, so I'm going to cut and paste this in. Now, if you don't remember what all of the parameters are, I can add -h on the end and it will just pop those up for you. All right, so let's just quickly dissect this. So -v play, okay, that's the name of my dev hub. Okay, so that's the org that I was just in. -s, so I'm going to set the default username. So this will appear down here when I set this. So, and the alias is going to be test. So my default username is going to be test, and the alias is going to be test. The duration is 3 days, so I don't really need this for much longer than 3 days. And then I'm just pumping it off to the standard project Scratch definition, which is this one here. And here it's just anything that's really unusual is I've just given it a different name, Salesforce Weekly Demo. That's it. All right, so I'm going to drop the -h and then hit enter. Give that a couple of seconds, hopefully not too long. So that's going to be spinning up a Scratch org. All right, there you go. So that's good news. It's created our Scratch org. Perfect. So let's just pop open our README. Let's have a look at the next instructions. Okay, so next we want to push our source. All right, so I'm just going to copy and paste that. come down here. I'm going to push in our source. All right. Now there was a bit of a conflict, so I'm just going to do the -F. Just force that over the top. I said the org preferences can be a little bit tricky. Perfect. All right, so that's all in. Next, I'm going to assign a permission set. There's only one permission set. So you should definitely be using permission sets because you can then do this. So this will assign the application permission to the default user. Perfect. All right. So there you go. That was actually pretty quick. So we've actually cloned a Git repo, run 3 commands, and bang, we're ready to go. So inside VS Code, let's just have a look at a couple of other things here. That's just the Git. I've got a bunch of plugins. We're on the Git branch here, or the Git master branch here. I haven't really done too much there. But the thing that I want to call out is test here. So this is a VS Code extension for Salesforce here, telling me that my default org is test. Okay, so I'm just going to hit that. All right, and that's going to pop open this one. There you go. So this is my new org. Look at that. Inspiration Force 2669. You never know what you're going to get there. It's a bit of a surprise. So let's just have a look. Do we have application? We do. Let's just pin that to that. Oops. Pin that to all. And let's just create a new application. Mike. There you go. Let's put something in here. Okay, perfect. All right. So let's look at how we create our component. So what I'm just going to do now is I'm just going to bring up our component library. All right, and I'm going to look for file upload. Just like that. Perfect. All right, so let's start creating our file upload component. So let's jump back into our IDE. All right, I'm just going to create a Aura folder here. All right. Now, if I highlight that and go right click, I can go create lightning component. I'm going to call it custom file upload. All right. So that's created the Aura definition bundle for me. So I've got everything that I now need to build out my component. So it's created all of the empty shell. So let's come back to the component library. So the component library really is great. You know, it gives you a lot of examples, in some cases, pretty much all of the code that you need to do something, well, to do what you're trying to do. Okay, so we want to build our own file uploader component. So I'm just going to cut and paste this. Okay. All right. So that's that, but there's a couple of other things that I do need. Okay, we're going to use this inside Flow and yeah, maybe other places as well. So how are we going to do that? All right, we're just going to implement some namespaces. So lightning, just spell that right. So lightning available, can't type, fat fingers, available for flow screens. All right, plural there. Just going to add a couple of other things. Force has record ID. I'm going to pass in the record ID. Okay, and if you want to use this on the record home as well, we can do that. So we can say flexi page, which is any of the Lightning pages that you cover, that you would create off of a record for a record home. All right, so we've got 3 things there. I'm just going to set the global access, or the access to global. And then that's closed it off. Okay, so that's fine. So we're going to implement a couple of namespaces available for flow screen. So make it available for flow. It has a record ID. We're going to pass in a record ID. And if we do want to use it elsewhere on the record homepage, we can as well. All right. So we need to add some additional attributes. So I've just cut and pasted in from the component library the minimum requirements for the file upload, but there's one important thing, because when you upload a file, you need a parent ID, or the record that you want the file to appear under. Okay, so I'm just going to cut and paste that, give it a name. I'm going to call it record ID. All right, it's a string. Get rid of that. All right, so we've got the record ID. So what else do we need? Now, we want to provide a visual indicator. Okay, so I mentioned that earlier on. Okay, so they could upload, a few forms of ID in the application use case, or just multiple files, right? So what we need is a list to store those items in. Okay, so I'm just going to cut and paste this one again, and I'm just going to create a list. I'm just going to call it items, and the type is a list. Okay, and the default is going to be an array. So that's shorthand for an array, or a list of items, square brackets there. That's it. All right, so that's good. So what else do we need to do? So those are all my attributes. So we're going to call the name file uploader, label demo upload, multiple. We're going to allow multiple files. We need to accept different file types. I'm just going to put PDF in here. All right, and it's going to be enabled. So the default is false, but we're going to enable it. And then the record ID. So let's just put in our record ID. So here I would do braces, exclamation mark, V for variable, and then record ID. All right. Easy stuff, eh? So that's just going to grab whatever record ID we define, and it's going to pump that into there. All right. So I'm just going to wrap this in a div, just so that it tidies things up as well. So let's just put a div here. All right, what else do we need? So let's have a look at the design element. Okay, so the design element is what is exposed to the configuration side of the component. So when you're composing components in a Lightning page or in a flow, you set some parameters typically, whether it's a record ID, some defaults, whatever it may be. That's all handled by the design component. Okay, so I'm just going to enter in a design. All right, a design attribute, I should say. So I didn't auto-complete correctly. So design attribute is going to be name, and this needs to be the same as your Aura attribute. So record ID is the only thing that we care about. I'm going to give it a label. Keeps auto-completing to something I don't want. Record ID. I think that will do. I'm just going to jump in here and just close that tag like that. So that's our design attribute. All right, perfect. So we've got our component, we've got our Aura attributes, we've got our record ID, we've got an empty list for holding all of the details about the files that I'm going to upload. What else do we need? Right, so let's jump into the controller. So inside the file upload component on upload finished, default is looking for handle upload finished. All right, so that's where we're going to jump over into the JavaScript world and into the JavaScript method that's going to handle that. All right. So I'm just going to paste the name of it, but effectively it can be whatever you want. I'm just going to shorten component to CMP here. Either will work. I don't need the helper. I'm not going to use the helper. I'm just going to define everything that I need inside this one method. All right, so let's create a couple of things. So I need to get the files. So I'm going to define a variable uploaded files. Okay, event get parameter. Okay, I'm going to open this and I'm going to get file. Just going to close down some of these things to give us a little bit more room so you can see what's going on. I'm just going to jump back to this because I believe that's it. In here, in the example, in case you're wondering how I knew files, so here's, this tells you that there is a lot of information and it will save you a lot of time hunting around when you can just bring up the component library and see, okay, so if I want to get details of the uploaded files, there it is. So I'm literally just copying what I see here. All right. So let's jump back to this. So some other things that I need. So I've defined a empty list called items. So I'm just going to define it in here. All right. And I'm just going to do CMP, okay, for component, and I'm going to get my items. So I'm just going to do v items, like so. Easy stuff, all right? So I'm going to get the uploaded files. I'm going to get the items, which is empty at this moment. So now I'm just going to introduce a simple loop because we could have more than one file uploaded. And here I'm just going to say var I equals 0. All right, I'm going to then say I is greater than uploaded files. All right, now there could be more than one, so I'm just going to say dot length. Can't even type. All right, dot length. Then I'm going to increment the loop, so standard looping stuff. All right, nothing too scary there. All right, so inside here, what am I going to do? Okay, I need to populate my items variable. Okay, so I'm going to do items push, open curlies, so open braces, open curlies, and then I'm just going to jump in here and do this. I'm going to say name, and then I'm going to get uploaded files. I'm going to grab the element ID, so that as we're looping through, so whatever I is, I will grab, and then inside there is something called document ID, which is the Salesforce content ID, so I'm going to grab that. I'm going to set the label to this. Okay, so uploaded files, same thing, I'm going to set the name. All right, that's it. Those are the two things that I'm going to do. I'm just going to put a semicolon there to tidy it up. So we're going to loop through the uploaded files and we're going to populate our items variable. Okay. Once we've done that, at the very end, we're going to say component set. Okay, set items, comma, items. All right. We're going to add another function in a second, but for now, that's it. So let's just make sure that we've got that saved. Make sure we've got that saved. Make sure that's saved. And I'm just going to push this source. So I'm just going to open up the command palette and I'm going to say push source to default scratch org. All right. That gave me an exit code 0, which is actually a good thing. So let's just have a look to make sure that the component is there. Let's go Lightning Components. There it is. Okay. Cool. Right. So that's the first part, but that would actually just replicate what we have already. So now we want to take this a step further. So let's jump back into here. Actually, before we jump into there, let's look at the pills. Okay. Let's have a look at the Lightning pill. All right. So I find it in the component library. So there's a base component called Lightning pill, and that's what we're going to implement. So let's jump back into the IDE. Let's get rid of that, and let's come down here and add another div. All right. So what we're going to do below here is we're going to add some Lightning pills. So the first thing we need to do is we need to iterate over our item list now. So remember, we've populated that. So if they've uploaded more than one file, they've populated that in the list. So now we need to iterate over that and generate the Lightning pills. So what do we do? So we go aura iteration. Okay. Items. Okay. Equals. Now there's a variable. Remember, it's all the same. I've called it items, so I can just literally say items equals items effectively here. Now, so that I can refer to it as something different, I can set a variable, and I'm going to set this to file because it is a file. So we're going to iterate over our file items. Okay. So that's all we're doing there. So we upload files, populate our items variable. You can see a typo there. Don't complain about that. And then now we're going to drop down to a new div, and then we're going to iterate over that, and we're going to display some pills. So we're going to hook into a Lightning base component called Lightning pills. All right. So this has a couple of variables. So label. So what do we want to set our label? So let's set our label to be file. That's the name that we've defined for each item in the list. And then we know there's a label because we've defined that in our JavaScript controller. There's a name. So let's just pop that in there. All right. And then it's very similar to the file upload on remove. So we're going to add the pills, but people might want to remove them. And then we're going to do some deletion. This is where the Apex controller comes in. We need to define the method that we're going to call. So this one is going to be -c for component or controller, depending on who you ask or what the context is. And it's going to be called handle remove. Put that there. Okay, cool. That is it. Let's just check that we've got everything we need to do here. So we need to close that off like so. check that everything is there. So we've got quotes, braces, quotes, braces. Okay, that all looks good. All right, let's push that up. So I'm just going to open up Command Palette and push that up. Still need to create our Apex controller. Hold fire, we're going to do that in a second. All right, so that's successful. Let's get rid of that. So let's create the controller now. So I'm just going to create a folder under my default. Just going to call it classes. Oh, let's get rid of that. That was a mistake. Delete. Nothing like a live demo. Keeps it real. Delete that one as well. Right. Let's try again. Default, new folder, classes. Okay. So there's my new folder. And then if I select that and go right click, new class, I call this custom file upload controller. There you go, nice original name there. All right, so this is where we're going to connect the Lightning component to the backend Apex to just handle the deletion of the file upload. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bin the constructor and I'm just going to create a method here. So the first thing I need to do is just set Aura enabled. All right. Now I'm not going to do anything too fancy here. I don't even need to return anything, but I could do. I'm just going to say void, which means return nothing, or nothing's going to be returned. I'm just going to call this delete file upload. The parameter that I'm going to pass in is going to be the file ID that I want to delete. And in Salesforce terms, it's a content document. So I'm just going to instantiate that. So let's go new content document. I'm just going to say ID equals cast that file ID string to an ID. Too many brackets. And then I'm just going to delete it. That is it. So, make sense? So, Aura enabled, public static void, delete file upload. Our parameter is the file ID that we want to delete. And then we've got a few lines here to just handle the deletion of it. So let's push that up. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's push that up. That's all good. So let's have a look. Let's close down some of these. Let's connect that to our component. So controller. Put that in there. Yeah, easy stuff. Very similar to Visualforce. Remember when you wired up controllers, you would define it like that. So let me just push this up. All right, perfect. There you go. So that's all gone up nicely. So we're getting there. So let's now have a look. Let's jump back to our controller, our JavaScript controller, and have a look at the next part that we need here. So handling the removals of content after they've been uploaded. So let's just give it a name. Handle remove. function cm event. Open brackets. Right, so now we're in this world again. So let's just define the file ID to delete. So we're just going to hook into the event source here. All right, and I'm going to do a get the name. So if you look above here, line 10, I'm setting the name to be the document ID. All right, now if we want to alert this to the screen, we can do that. So let's just have a simple alert file to be deleted. All right, nice little alert there. Okay, so now we need to queue an action to do this. So let's have a look at how we do this. Now, obviously, this is a very simple example, and I'm purposely keeping it simple just so that you can see the basics. You know, there's all kinds of things like promises, error handling, all that kind of stuff. But let's just look at the bare bones way of calling an action. So, got a variable action. Okay, I'm going to get the delete file upload. Okay, so let's just go. So what we want to get is delete file upload. So from our controller, just check what I called it. That's it. Okay. All right. Action set param. Okay. We've only got one parameter, but we could have more than one. We called it file ID. And I'm going to pass in this one here. I'm just going to cut and paste that in here. I'm going to close that quote. All right. So we've got an action variable that says call our Apex controller. The method is called delete file upload. That's this name here. All right, it's got some parameters. We know that, file ID. So I'm passing in the parameters. So once we've done that, all we then need to do is $A for Aura and NQ. Okay, let's just NQ the action. Which I've called action. So that will set it off and do the delete. Now there's a couple more things we want to do. We actually need to remove the pills from the screen. Okay, so how are we going to do that? I'm going to just grab the items list again. So I'm just going to do another get. So v items. And then going to get the index because we don't know which one they're grabbing. Okay. Or get the individual item. Okay, and I'm going to use the index to grab that. So here we're going to say event get param. Index is built in, so that'll tell me the one that's clicked. And we're just going to splice it, which is a fancy way of removing it. We're saying let's remove this. We're going to splice item by 1, and then we're just going to reset the pills, which will be the ones that are left. And then that is it. All right, so that will handle the removal of the pills and the deletion of the file. So let's just make sure that we've got no typos in here. File ID to be deleted. Event, we're going to get the source and we're going to get the name. We're going to alert it to the screen. That looks good. We're then going to create an action that calls our Apex controller. Okay, the Apex controller is wired to the component. There it is. very similar to Visualforce. Then we're going to set the parameters in the method. There's only one. And then I'm going to enqueue it, which basically will run the deletion. And then we're going to remove the pill or the visual indicator from the screen. All right, so that's that. Let's go Command Palette and push that up. We're getting there. All right, that looks good. Perfect. All right. So let's have a look. I think we've got our component all done. We have our controller. That's good. That's it. All right. Okay, so let's compose our flow now. So let's come into here. Let's come into our Scratch org and let's go to our flow. Because we're in Spring 19, we're going to have the new flashy non-flash process builder to play with. So I'm just going to open this up. Wow, looks shiny and new. So I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to get rid of that element and I'm going to edit this screen one. So that's what we were looking at earlier. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bin this one. All right. And I'm going to bring our one into the mix. Wow, it's lovely, isn't it? I think this really is a game changer. All right, so there's our component. So let's give it a name. Let's call it custom file upload. Now, it needs a record ID, which I call record ID. So that's an input variable. All right, let's just set this like this. Actually, we don't need that. All right, let's put the underscores in. Let's put the underscores in. Perfect. All right, so now we've got that in there. So let's go save as, create a new version. We're definitely going to revisit how you use this and the changes and stuff in the new year. But for now, we're just going to show you that it looks good and hey, we've just changed our flow. Let's hit back. Let's hit into here and make sure that we activate our flow. All right, all good. So that's activated. So let's jump back to here. So I'm just going to jump into Lightning App Builder and change this page. I'm going to drag over my flow. All right. Now it's quite clever. It's picked up that I'm going to pass in a record ID. So I don't need to do too much here other than activate it. So as org default, just make sure that nothing goes wrong. Let's come out of here. All right, perfect. Okay, so what do we have? Let's just put the files related list on here before we do anything. There you go, so we can check what's going on. There's that one. And then one more thing, one more little thing. This might be a good little today I learned. See if you know this one. Scroll up, right? Disable caching. So all I'm doing here is I'm just trying to give myself the best possible chance of this working first time, or it not being cached and actually working, but us not thinking it's working. So there you go. So in the session setting, just remember to scroll down. So we're almost there. So let's just do a nice hard refresh, shrink down some of these. All right, so let's add something in here. But let's demo our component. Right, so I'm going to grab this. There's the confirmation. There's the pill. That's the name of the file. Okay. Now if I click over here, there's the file. So that definitely worked. All right, so now let's change our mind. There's our alert, file to be deleted. Okay, there's an error handle. There's an error. Okay, so that's possibly a typo. So let's have a look. Let's jump back into our component, handle remove, handle remove. Let's just check. Yeah, should be items. So let's just push that up. Nothing like debugging on the fly. Okay, so let's hit a refresh. Okay, let's run that again. Let's do a different file. Certificate, confirmation. There's the pill. There you go. Let's have a look. Gone. All right, so there you go. Let's just try it one more time. Let's add a couple of files. Okay, add another one. Let's click over here. Now this won't refresh automatically. There is another local flow, local action that refreshes things, but that's fine. Because we can see it here, we know it's been uploaded. Now let's say, right, I didn't want to upload that one. I'm just going to delete that one. And then I'm going to put in some information here and just hit finish to complete the flow or restart it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hard refresh, and then what we should see on the related list is just 2 attachments. So there you have it. So that's all working. So let's just recap very quickly. So remember to use the component reference. This is where you find most of the information that you need. So everything that we've done today and everything that I've shown you, I've learned or picked up really pretty much from here. Nearly all of the code that you need to get going is here inside the component reference, right? Same for the pills. All right, it's all here. So let's just jump back to this. Let's go present and let's have a quick look. Okay, so key takeaways for this one is extend base components where possible. It will save you time. Blend Lightning components with Flow for amazing results fast. You know, don't boil the ocean, keep it stupid simple. That's it really. You know, use those base components. Yeah, it's going to save you a lot of time, and hey, the new Flow designer is going to open up a whole host of opportunities for you to kind of blend flows, like small Lightning components, whatever your heart desires. And that's it from us. So hope you enjoyed that. Have yourself a great Christmas and watch out for more videos over the Christmas period.